I was born in Eastern Europe, in Poland. I was one of 6 children. My father was a capmaker and my mother was a housekeeper. And all the children grew up and we went all to school. We had an education. Of course, in the Polish schools we went. And life was very, very good. You know, you're with your family, you celebrate together the holidays, and you saw close, you grew up together with your family. And we did not experience any wrongdoing by the non-Jewish people. We all lived together, and we went to school together, everything was integrated. We didn't feel any anti-Semitism at all while I was growing up. In 1939, Hitler invaded Poland. And he became the leader of Germany, and the German people accepted him, and the Jewish people had a chance to get out of there, like in 1937, 1938, even in 1939. We knew nothing about the Nazis. So when the war started, we had a bomb next day falling by my house, by our house. And lots of people got killed by the bombarding. And then, you know, I had girlfriends. I was 18 years of age. I had girlfriends, I had a social life, and some of my girlfriends said they're going to run away from home because they did have a notion something good is not going to happen. So I came home to my parents and I said, Mom, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go with my girlfriends. The division between the non-occupied and the occupied was connected by a river. So you have to cross that river in order to be in Russian-occupied zone. So then my sister said she wants to go too. So my parents said, you know, children, let's all go. And we left everything. We didn't have too much, but we had some. Poland was a very poor country because Poland did not have industry. Everybody was a craftsman with their hands. And so we ran away from home. We ran away after the river broke and we were refugees. This was the South Ukrainian. There's 2 Ukrainian. There's a Russian Ukrainian and there's a Polish Ukrainian. And the Polish Ukrainian is divided by that river. So we were there for a while, and I found a job, and you can believe me or not, Russia was the only country that opened the doors for the Jewish refugees and made an announcement. Whoever it wants to come, who wants to come in, we will furnish transportation and coming in. My parents with my siblings went to Russia. I had a job, I worked in a restaurant, and since it was one occupied zone, so I stayed behind, and in a little while my mother came to visit me with one of my sisters. And while she was there, we heard some kind of noise like maneuvers, or in this war when this was when Hitler occupied the South Ukrainian, invaded that territory, but I was there and I was detained. I couldn't run any place. So right away they made a ghetto, and all the Jewish people were in that ghetto. It was very tight, and they formed the Jewish police. I was anxious to get out of the ghetto to work, so I find myself a job. I went to a German civilian. I speak very well German because when I went to school, we needed a foreign language, and I took up German, and it came very handy for me during the World War II, during my survival. So I went into a German company and I asked for a job, and first I took home to I washed clothes for the German people, for those people, for that company. I used to take it home, and then I asked him if I could open up a laundromat and wash it outside, and he said he allowed me to do this. And I went out every day of the ghetto. I was wearing a yellow star here, a yellow star here, and a white band with a Star of David on my arm. One day I walked to work. Previously there was a rumor that the people that they don't work, they're going to get killed in the ghetto. You have to have some kind of a note from a company that you work for them, and you believe, and the others that don't work will die. So I was the first one that went to this German company that I washed clothes for, and he gave me a note that I'm working for him. And 2 weeks later, the ghetto was destroyed, half of the ghetto, execution style. One day I worked to work with the police, and I saw my manager from the restaurant, and he saw me, and I went over to him, and I said, he didn't run away, it was dangerous for him. I was obviously labeled with that I'm Jewish, you know, with all these things on my body. And I asked him, his name was Kucharevich. I asked him, could you help me, please? Could you take me out of the ghetto? And he said, yes. Did I know that he will do this? I just put my life in somebody's hands, and I had to take a chance, you know. Nevertheless, he came next day. He took me out of the ghetto, took me to his home. And in the city, they were killing Jews. And he saved me in the basement for 3 days. So he came down, and I said to him, Mr. Kucharevich, please, can you take me out of here? Because if they'll find out that you're hiding me, your family will be destroyed. And he said, okay. Everything I did, I felt that the Almighty is watching over me, because I was on my own. I didn't have anything to show who I am. So He hired a horse and wagon. We didn't have any cars. And they dressed me up like a Polish native girls, you know, with all the costumes and with the scarf, and he gave me his wife's birth certificate. His wife at this time was twice as old as I am. I went on that horse and wagon, and he said, if someone will stop you, will stop us, you are my wife. So we're riding through villages and small towns. Everything is boarded up with plywood. Not a soul, not a dog outside. It was free of Jews. Everywhere we went. And we were riding during the day. And it came like towards the evening. It was like maybe 5 o'clock, like here today. He stopped in a place and said to me, I'm leaving you here. God bless you. God save you. He took away the birth certificate of his wife, and he left me there all by myself. And I did not know where I am. So I looked on a side and I saw a door. I opened the door. This was a barn. And I went in. By the way, I had 2 suitcases with religious articles. The picture of Jesus Christ, of Mary. I had rosaries, I had crosses. I knew the Catholic prayers in Polish because I went to Polish school. And I went into the barn and I lay down and I figured I'll sleep and see what happened. Nobody came in. I got out in the morning and looked around and I saw 3 German soldiers standing far away. You see, the German army was running from the Russians already. They did not want it to be captured by the Russians, so they went towards where the Americans are. And they left a few soldiers in case the fronts get better, then they come back, but they never did come back. So I went to them, to those 3 soldiers, and I asked him, could you tell me where I am? And I was on a borderline of 2 states. Geographically, I knew where I was already, but I'd never been there. And I asked him if they can let me through the border, and they let me through. The person that gave me a job asked me if I can milk cows. I said yes. And I rented a room, and a furnished room, and I worked for 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks I was feeling that people are spying on me. You see, the collaborators, they wanted to point out Jewish people to the Nazis. This was their goal. I'm just proud that you are interested in a project like this as young people, you know. So going back to my story, so I felt that it's hot underneath my feet, that people are spying on me, and that I have to run, have to escape from here. It was dangerous. And I went into the person that gave me the job. I told him, my aunt is very sick and I have to go and help her. Could you give me a recommendation paper that I worked for you? And he did. And this was the only piece of paper that I had the whole time. I had no idea where I'm going. I'm just sitting on the train, and here a Polish girl stood up, a big girl, and she said to me, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Well, where are you going?" She told me the city. And I said, "What a coincidence. I'm going there too." I got up this train, and I didn't go out to the front where you go out. I remained in the back, and I saw a big sign. The engineer, they built bridges in the city. You know, there were a lot of civilians that during Hitler's occupation that they came to the cities in Poland, and they had projects. So, and I must say that the German civilians are very civilized and very appropriate. They are very nice. So I came in and he asked me, "What can I do for you, young lady, Fräulein?" I said, "I'm looking for work." And he said, "Can you cook?" "Oh," I said, "Yes." And he said, "Come back tomorrow and I'll give you a job." I said, "I can't come back tomorrow because I have nowhere to sleep. I'm from the Black Forest and the Russians are there. I'll go home. They will kill me." This was my alibi. He took me to a hotel and left me there, told the man not to bother me, he'll come for me in the morning. So he came for me, took me to his place, and they just built it for me, a little room with a bed and a closet. And in the cities, they were killing Jews. So I worked for the company. There was a cook and I was helping him. And the reason that I'm still here, that I was never hungry during the World War II. Hunger is the worst thing in the world. It's not, "Oh, well, I didn't have lunch, I'm going to eat an hour later." Hunger means when the Germans gave you, when the Nazis gave you a square piece of bread like this, and it was moldy, and you have to scrape up them and take one bite and say that nobody would steal it from you. This is hunger. So I worked there for a while, and I was registered in the city hall, and I went shopping for them. And all of a sudden, the engineer that hired me came in and said, "Maria, you work too hard. I'm going to give you help." I said, "No, I don't need any help. I don't work hard." And he brings in a Ukrainian girl. She took one look at me. She told me that you were a Jew. I didn't look Jewish. How does a Jew look? We don't look different than other people, but they were so preoccupied. They were so. Meanwhile, a man used to come from another city, from the same firm, to visit his comrades, and he saw me there, and he took interest. He said, "What are you doing here? You're so young, you're away from home." And I told him that I can't go home because the Russians will kill me. He used to come every Sunday. He was married. He went home. He always brought me some stuff from his wife. And he had one daughter. And he heard about this, what Olga said. And I told him, I said, "Mr. Fabus, I have to go away from here." He said he knows. So he helped me to escape from there. He took me to a shed in the middle of a field. I was there from morning to night. He took my suitcases And he promised me that he will wait in front of the railroad. And he was there. And he locked me up in a welding shop for the night. In the morning he came to get me and he said to me like this, Maria, he said, I don't care who you are. Tell me if this is true, because I want to teach Olga a lesson. And I said, no. You couldn't trust anybody. You couldn't. And he took me for coffee or breakfast, whatever. And then he took me to a main street where the trucks were running to probably to Auschwitz with the prisoners, you know, the concentration camp people. There was one soldier in the front with a rifle, and I often wondered, why didn't they attack him? And then I gave myself the answer, they were probably skeletons, they couldn't do anything, they were almost like dead. And while the trucks were running, on the sidewalk was a young man. He jumped and he got wounded and he couldn't die. And every truck that went through was shooting at him. He couldn't die. So this picture will remain with me as long as I live. I said I want to go, and I went to a different area, to a resort area, and I got a job in a German hospital on wheels. And since I spoke German very well, I was not afraid of the Germans that I speak German, because they would never ever accuse me that I'm Jewish. And I was dressed. I don't look like a runaway. I went back to the hospital and I was in the laboratory and I befriended an officer that came in with a boil, big boil, and I treated him. And he used to come in very often. I treated him, and one day I heard that the hospital was moving away and they couldn't take me along because they did not have enough place for me. I went out and I walked around in the forest and I lifted my head. I said, "What's now?" And all of a sudden I looked, there was German soldiers. I went there and I said, "Is there anybody that I can talk to?" He showed me a door. I went in, and this was the officer that I gave treatments. And he said, "Maria, what are you doing here?" "Oh," I said, "the hospital's gone away and they cannot take me along. And if I'll stay here, the Ukrainians will kill me because there was an unrest at this time. They were burning churches, they were killing each other." And so he said, "What can I do for you?" I said, "Can you take me along, please? I will do anything. I will wash, I will clean, I will do anything for you." This was the German Wehrmacht. This was like our army. They deliver ammunition and food to the fronts. This were not Nazis, this were just plain soldiers that were drafted into the army during the World War II. 3 days later, I was out on riding with them. And there were a few ladies, a few women, a few people that ran away from from the Germans for the Russians. And we came to Romania, and I was riding with my cook. I was peeling potatoes, I was helping my cook. And we came to Romania, all the Jewish stores were open there. It's Romania capitulated at this time. And I asked him, can I stay here? I'm so tired. He said, no, Maria, you come with us. So Romania, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Austria, every town we came, he went into private citizens and asked for a place for the women to sleep. He was such a decent person. I was sitting next to my cook in the kitchen wagon, the bombs were falling, the bullets were flying, and I was very much afraid. At this point, I dismissed who I was. I didn't remember anything. I was dwelling on my survival. Now, the whole time I was with him, I didn't hear them talk about Jews. I didn't hear him talk about concentration camps. I didn't hear him talking about gas chambers, crematoriums, death camps. And when the American army came to liberate them, I was like a scared little girl, be afraid to say anything, because I thought I'm the only Jew left in the war. If they would find out who I was while I was with them, they wouldn't do anything to me themselves. They would send me out to the proper authorities to take care of me. So when the war ended, May the 5th, 1945, the officer came to the door, opened the door, and he said, Maria, the war is over. You don't have to be afraid anymore. He thought I'm afraid of the bomb. I was afraid. So I went out of that kitchen wagon, and there was a leaden stone outside, a big rock. And I sat down, and I said, my God, I survived the war? And I said, who am I? Where am I to go? Where's my family? Where's everybody? So the soldiers, you know, they came over and they gave me addresses, and I decided to go to my cook's town. It was near Wiesbaden. Did you hear a city, Wiesbaden, German? It's very popular. It's nearby, and I settled down in a family's house, and in a Fortenshow, and I worked for the Americans in the kitchen, and I looked for Jews. I read and write German, so I finally find a small write-up about a Jewish office in Wiesbaden. Every time I went, they turned me down because they said, well, everybody wants to be Jewish because of the care packages. I said, I don't care about your care packages. I want to find my family. I want to get back to who I was. And for a military chaplain. And of course, he opened the prayer book and all the alibis and all this stuff. And so finally, they decided that I'm Jewish. And they sent me away to Frankfurt. There was a Rabbi Neuhaus. He was a doctor, a very big man. And I came in, the transportation was very bad. It was right after the war. I came in, they asked me, my child, what do you want? I said, got through the war. I don't know if there's a war Jews, I want to find my family. Oh, my child, he said, go here and here, there's 1,000 Jews left there. And this was a displaced person camp. And this is where I met my husband. My husband was older than I am, but he had a sister in my hometown that I knew. You see, in Eastern Europe, we didn't mix too much. Everybody married on their own level, where you come from, what is your background, how Jewish you were. So, and my family survived in the Soviet Union. I went there in 1967 after Gorbachev turned everything around, and they say they want to come to America. My mother was not living anymore, she died. And I brought them over to the United States of America. And they all passed away here of terrible illnesses. And I have only one sister, the youngest sister, left in Los Angeles. I became more religious because I survived with nothing, only God led me through my way. I felt that the Almighty's protected me and led me through my way, because everything I did come true. And so I was not affected by the war. The World War II didn't affect me, but it affected in a sense of that 6 million people perished and 1 million have children. And you wonder why? And there's no answer for this. There's no answer for this. Nobody knows why. The Polish Jews were so religious, so pious, like the Lubavitchers here, like the Rabbi Rappaport, Rabbi, all the rabbis, the Orthodox rabbis. We were very Orthodox, very, and this happened to the European Jews, and nobody actually knows why. There's no answer for it. Some rabbis say that people didn't obey God. The Polish people, the Polish Jews, did believe in God and obeyed everything that pertained to the Jewish faith. They davened 3 times a day. They put on tefillin every day. They did that. They kept kosher, and there was no other life like for the Jewish people, like an Orthodox life. So yes, my personal life, God helped me to survive, and He still helped me to live and to be healthy. But it affected the whole Jewish people. Can you imagine? He wiped out the people. He wiped out the Jewish people.